listens to us. Why not? It sounds like a fun thing. Everybody, after the fact you're watching this, you just want to go to 00:00. If you want to skip all my chit-chat with the crew, with the crowd, with the fans, with the junkies, you can do that. You just skip on over. Move it on over. Just move it on over to 00:00. However, in the meantime, in the in-between time, we're going to cover a bunch of things and chit-chat as soon as we start to see some people show up in the chat room. We have one person in the chat room. Whoever you are, please, I say, please post a message in the chat room so I can see if this is working. And it is not working. We'll start over again over here. Quit. Cobalt USA. Dark Ninja. Hello, how are you? I do not recognize your name from previous casts, Dark Ninja. Tell us who you are. Sean. Yeah, it's working on Twitch. Sound everything. Steve, the Iceberg, Greeky Bird. Kyle Jacobson. What is up, brother? Who else we got? Recluse Mage, as always. Brian Leach. Sean in the house. Michael Moore. What is up, my man? Let's see. Dark Ninja. Actually, it's XX. Dark Ninja 89. Tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you want? What are you doing here? What ulterior motives do you have planned, sir and or ma'am? Brittany, how are you? Christine, hello, everyone. Yeah, A and I have actually implemented doing a test. Bruce Bach, what's up, son? We have implemented doing a test stream just on Facebook, just to make sure everything's working, to try and get around all of the massive problems that we had. D79 in the house. Ian, how are you? Welcome, everybody. I think we got a fun episode. There's no action in this episode. Not even action in the back section. Again, if you're just coming in after the fact and not watching this live and you want to hear the story, fast forward to 00:00 and we will get into it. Yeah, Christine, Fed government is crazy. All kinds of crazy stuff. Marble Gargler, what's up? How are you? Glenn Murray. Hello, Glenn. Paul Inman. Oh, my goodness. I tell you, it warms the dark cinders that are my heart to see you guys coming back every week. No, Marble Gargler, no backdoor action this week. Maybe next week. Come back next week for backdoor action. We shall see what happens. I got to start my OnlyFans. That's where the money's at these days. I should be reading these stories on OnlyFans. Oh, Dark Ninja says, hey, Scott, I usually watch this recorded afterward. Wanted to catch it live. Wonderful. I hope you're caught up on the story. Very, very. Sandy Baltzer, my other mother. How are you, Sandy? From Inglewood. It's Florida, not Inglewood, California, or Cali. Inglewood, Florida. So there we go. Sandy, everybody say hi to Sandy. Sandy is my other mother. She was one of the people who helped raise me as a youngin', and A and I love her to death. She's fantastic. Hopefully we'll see her pretty soon. Rob Otto, good point. Bingles probably has an OnlyFans. Rob, I'm going to task you with this because A says I am doing too many things and I can't start new projects. You need to go out and recruit us 7 to 10 little people and also acquire, bondage gear, cod pieces, suspenders, all the good stuff. And then we'll get our own OnlyFans going. And I don't know. I don't think there's another product like that. I haven't looked at OnlyFans. As far as I know, there's hundreds of products like that. I couldn't tell you for sure. But bang, A's in the chat room trying to shoot down. You know what, you guys? Here I am trying to be an entrepreneur, trying to be an American innovator. And A's in the chat room saying, just sirs. No. Okay, baby. We will not, Rob and I promise to not start a Little People OnlyFans modeled after Big Bingles and Not So Tiny Tim for at least the rest of the month. We will do that. So there we go. All right, we got people pouring in. As usual, I think this is a very fun episode. A lot of stuff gets revealed. Rob and I worked a bunch on this episode this week. A chimed in with some really key comments about the episode. So, Brian Leach, what's up? Yeah, Brian. Yeah, but I don't think you can broadcast and make money on Grindr. I think OnlyFans, you can broadcast there, I believe. There actually are. I've seen this on the other socials. There are people who are doing science reports on OnlyFans. Granted, from what I've seen, they're very attractive people, but they're doing like legitimate, here's a bunch of chemistry stuff and making money. So crazy. It would, like, a thing I would have never thought in a million years. I'm like, wait a minute. You are doing like not naked science or regular science. And yeah, apparently it takes all kinds, man. You never know what somebody's kink is. And some people's kink is straight up knowledge. Thank you, D79. Don't forget, you YouTubers, click the like that, click that like, smash that bell, subscribe, all that stuff. Let's go over what we got coming up. If you are watching after the Fits Pop Up, tonight's live read is Slay episode 86, entitled Cute Pup. After the episode, our Deep Cuts introduces listener-supported podcasts and our upcoming subscription model. Please stick around for that. I want all of your input, whether you're a regular listener or not. It's very important to us. Let's see. We've got, of course... Let's go to, well, we'll do that after the fact. I can't do that from here. Housekeeping. Sunday, March 2nd, Slay episode 85. Let us make deal. Hit the feed. Tuesday, March 4th, Deep Cuts 40, How to Write Realistic Dialogue went live in the feed. That should have actually gone up today. We were a little bit late getting that up, but that's in the feed right now. Sunday, March 9th, tonight's episode, Slay 86, episode Cute Pup, will go live in the podcast feed. Tuesday, March 11th, tonight's Deep Cuts discussion, listener-supported podcast, will go live in the feed. You may have noticed a pattern here. Wednesday, March 5th, that's not right. That must be Wednesday, March 12th. Wednesday, March 12th, Slay episode 87, which I don't have titled yet, will be the live read, and we will have a Deep Cuts coming up, and A will tell us about the Deep Cuts topic once she gets up here. Saturday, April 5th, Junkie Meetup. I have not updated that graphic yet. Tony DeRosa Vinieri. Hello, Tony. How are you? Another name I don't see here very often. Tony, introduce yourself in the chat room. Tell us all about you and why you love me. Because let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, you're all here because you just, because you love a brother. It's a fact. It's a fact. D79, I will take your word for that one. Rocking out my Fago shirt. My boy Danny Baker, PhD, got me. So, happen to be wearing that tonight. All right, we're coming into the countdown. What did I say we would get to later? Let's go ahead and go to main just so we can get this stuff. If you have any ideas for topics you want to hear in Deep Cuts, any questions in general, anything about the feed, about me, whatever, you can send those to info@emptyset.com. If you're not on the SIG text, you should be there. Text SIG text to 855-955-5095. We don't spam or nothing. We let you know when there's new episodes, new books, new products, things like that. It's pretty fun. And of course, you should be subscribed to the newsletter, because the newsletter and the SMS list, the text list, are the only things that we actually control other than our website. We had a huge following on Facebook. That's gone to crap. Huge following on Twitter. That's gone to crap. And you know what? These are the two places to be. You want to be on newsletter and text, SIG text, 285-955-5095. All right. That takes care of that. We also have a Discord. Where do I have that? Shoot. Steve, I thought I had that. But scottsigler.com/Discord is apparently, that's not, you see my forehead. scottsigler.com/Discord. Jody Kitchen's in the house. Oh, Jody Kitchen said that Fago tea. Jody Kitchen sent me this. Thank you, Jody Kitchen. All right, let's go back to main. Let's get our lower third up. Let's get rid of the countdown timers. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, Daryl, it is story time. Let us rock and roll. Wait, got to record it. Steve, say nothing. I was already recording. Not really, Steve. That's a lie. Check, check, check. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's rock and roll. Good temps. Oop, can't move the mic. And hit it. Previously on Slay. Dante Oganov, the tracksuit-wearing, drug-dealing goblin with visions of becoming Lumencia's crime king, made Lincoln an offer. Help him take over Callista's syndicate, and Lincoln's son, Sam, would be freed from the purgatory known as the Shelf, where little Sam has been trapped for years. To make that happen, Dante needs Lincoln to collect evidence that Callista used to run a polyp nursery, where people are used as hosts for a parasite that produces a highly addictive drug. Breeding polyps is a capital offense. With that evidence, Dante can blackmail Callista into giving up not only her territory, but also Sam. But getting into bed with Dante brings major risks, because Dante is being hunted by Vestinian, the same powerful wizard that crippled Magda, the same powerful wizard that wants to kill Billy and absorb his powers. And if Lincoln helps Dante, but fails, what might Callista do to Sam for payback? These questions and more will be covered next on Slay, episode 86. Then I told them both I couldn't make a decision until I talked to my team, Lincoln said. We left them there, came straight home. Magda knew most of the story because she had seen what Lincoln saw, heard what Lincoln heard. But Ariella had not. Ariella sat in her lazy boy, feet curled under her, a scroll of Lincoln's contract with Callista in her lap, her high heels next to the chair. Billy, Link, and Magda were in their usual spots on the couch. Dragon, in dachshund form, lay on the rug, sleeping, belly so distended from her impromptu lagoon gobbling, her right leg stuck up at a 90-degree angle. Shitbird, the final member of their happy little family, was somewhere in the building. Magda knew this because there was nothing quite like the scent of cracker farts wafting into the room. So that's it, Link said. Ariella, is Cantrell right? Ariella didn't respond. Her fingertips slid across the scroll line so fast it was like the stylus of an old EKG machine. Ariella, Link snapped. Are you hearing me? That pulled her out of her hyperfocus. She looked around, blinking. She adjusted her glasses. I heard you, she said. Yes, it looks like Dylan Cantrell's interpretation of the contract is correct. Lincoln stared at her, his expression a combination of fury, frustration, and hope. You missed this, he said. You told me you'd read over my contract over and over. You told me you could get my son off the shelf if I worked with you. And you missed this. Magda braced for Ariella's volatile response. While Ariella was an equal partner in the business, she acted like she was in charge. She acted like that because she was in charge. When Ariella called the shots, things got done. Money came in. The church got improvements. Payments to Callista got made. As such, Ariella did not react well when people questioned her. This time, though, she didn't sneer, didn't make a snide remark, didn't remind everyone of how shitty things had been before she arrived. I did miss it, Ariella said. I'm sorry. It's not spelled out in the contract. It's a read between the lines kind of thing, but it's real. I have to say, I'm surprised Cantrell found it. Surprised and impressed. The head bitch in charge actually admitting she'd gotten something wrong? Amazing. Ariella rolled up the contract scroll, set it on the coffee table, leaned back in the chair, retucked her feet under her butt. But just because he's right doesn't mean this is a good idea, she said. Do we really want to be in business with someone Vestinian is hunting? All eyes flicked to Billy, who reacted by staring at Dragon. She's a cute pup, he said. Man, I hope nothing happens to her. Billy's love for Dragon seemed to grow a bit more every day. He was thinking of the danger in terms of how it might affect his 15-foot-long man-eating buddy instead of how it might affect him. Or he was projecting, because it was a lot to handle. Magda knew that better than anyone. It's not just Billy, Ariella said. Magda, we all know your history with Vestinian. Do you think we should do this? Every time they discussed Vestinian, Magda swore she could feel the Umatakan's claws slicing through the skin and flesh of her face, scraping gouges from her cheekbones. I don't know, she said. If there's a chance we can get Sam off the shelf, we have to consider it. Magda lived in uncontrollable terror of being anywhere other than the church. Even inside the church, she still feared Vestinian and his beast. If they came here, she was lost. But Sam was lost too. And he was just a kid cheated out of his childhood. Billy, Ariella said, your grandmother told us Vestinian wants to absorb your power. He wants you dead. Do you want to risk drawing his attention? Lincoln said nothing. He watched Billy. He didn't try to tell Billy it would be okay, or that Billy needed to do this to help Sam. Billy had to decide for himself, and Lincoln knew it. Magda could not imagine a bigger sign of Lincoln's respect than to let the kid decide for himself. Vestinian's our boogeyman, Billy said. I get why we fear him. I get why Grandma fears him. I fear him, and I've never even seen the guy. But I know what it's like to grow up without parents. I know what it's like to be trapped in a bad place. If I have to risk my life to help get Link's kid off the shelf, then fuck it. I'm in. Lincoln gripped Billy's shoulder and shook it. Thank you, Link said. Thank you. Magda felt like a piece of garbage. Worthless. Limp. She felt like a coward. Because that's what she was. Well, I'm not in yet, Ariella said. Everyone looked at her. Even Dragon, her furry little head lifting, gazing her way. I need to know more, Ariella said. For starters, what are polyps? What are anemones? Lincoln frowned. You don't know? You're a lawyer? They're illegal. Magda wondered the same thing. Not's my area of law, Ariella said. I've heard of polyps, but only in passing. I've never had a client involved with that stuff. She shrugged. Commonwealth law encompasses over 200,000 scrolls, some 50,000 tomes. That doesn't count the clay tablets, engraved stones, pieces of bark, strings with knots in them, talismans that recite the ancient ways, and so on. A lawyer can't cover everything. I know what I know, and don't bother with the rest. Magda and Link exchanged a glance. What Ariella said made sense. While it seemed someone so in tune with the magical world should know about polyps, that particular game had been wiped out a long time ago. Or so they had thought. Maybe Mags and I are just too close to it, Lincoln said. My dad was obsessed with the Jorogumo. We heard about the evils of polyps all the time. Mags, tell her. Magda was almost grateful to switch to a non-Vestinian subject, no matter how nasty that subject might be. Now you know of the Jorogumo, right? Magda asked. Ariella nodded. Of course. No, I don't, Billy said. I heard Link say his pops helped wipe out their last nest, but other than that, no one's told me jack shit about him. Magda and Link exchanged another glance. They should have told Billy that story. Maybe they each expected the other to do so, like two parents who both thought the other would tell their kids about the birds and the bees. I'll give you the history lesson later, Magda said. For now, let me just focus on the basics. Jorogumo were these nasty spider motherfuckers. They could shapeshift. They could brawl with the best of them. They had their own kind of filament they spun from their silk. They are evil as shit. The Bastion was founded to destroy them. Jacoby Franks took out the last nest. Magda hadn't known Jacoby back then. The man loved to tell that story, though. Some of it, at least. Jacoby boasted about the dramatic buildup, about the aftermath of being celebrated by the Bastion, and everyone else in the patchwork for that matter, but he never talked about what actually happened in the nest itself. The polyps and amoebas are part of how they reproduce, Magda said. The Jorogumo are weirdly parasitic. They lay eggs. An egg can hatch into a baby Jorogumo spider thing, but those babies have no magical power unless their first meal is this nasty little critter called a polyp. Polyps are the larval stage of yet another beastie called an anemone. Anemones can't move. Polyps can. They find a victim, stun it, then crawl into it and use it as their host. In that host, they transform into an anemone. That word kills me, sorry guys. In that host, they transform into an anemone. That anemone grows until it reproduces by budding off little polyps that go out and hunt down the next host. You got me so far? Ariella and Billy nodded. Now, Jorogumo used to cultivate anemones, Magda said. Each nest had a room full of victims. Anemones grow on the victims, slowly digesting them physically while also harvesting their filaments of pain and terror. Billy nodded again. Like what Teddy Two Fingers did to the kids. Similar, Lincoln said. It's a long process. Takes a host months to die. Sometimes years. Magda had seen an old polyp chamber once, back in her Rixator days. Dozens of emaciated corpses, their bodies woven through with desiccated anemones. It seemed like a horrible way to go. The polyps have another use, though, she said. Dry them out, and they turn into these little husks about the size of a big cucumber. Hard on the outside, all gooey in the middle. If a person or monster or whatever cracks it open and licks the pus, they get high as balls. Billy's face wrinkled. Pus? Did you say lick the pus? Man, I'm a barf. I'd rather shoot heroin into my eyeballs, Ariella said. Yeah, it's gross, but that's not the whole thing, Magda said. This stuff is instantly addictive. You think meth addicts or nurple junkies are bad? You ain't seen nothing. Supposedly, pus is so addictive that once you're hooked, you will do anything to get more. Give up all your money, beat up your sister, murder your mom, whatever the supplier asks you to do. Jorogumo used to use it to turn people into slaves until the side effects got so bad the person couldn't function anymore. Then they brought those junkies into the nest and put them into the amoeba chamber. Wow, Billy said. I had some ruthless dealers in my neighborhood. They'd let a junkie die, but they didn't harvest the poor fuckers. Lincoln stood, started slowly pacing, as was his way when he was thinking things through. Jorogumo weren't the only ones wicked enough to get people hooked on pus, he said. Several criminals in the patchwork and the underskin got polyps and started their own little drug farms. According to Dante, Callista was one of those criminals. That fire witch was a piece of work, sure, but dealing in polyps, that was sadism on another level. I'm not following, Ariella said. If it's a capital offense to breed these creatures, Callista was willing to take that risk. That means the payout was big. So why did she stop? Lincoln's pacing slowed. I don't know. It was before our time, long before I knew her. He looked to Magda. Any ideas? Magda apparently knew her best friend's mortal enemy better than he did. Because Callista is smart, Magda said. When the last nest got stomped, polyp supply thinned out. The Bastion focused efforts on finding breeders. Those pieces of shit wound up dead or rotting away in the jail. Maybe Callista likely saw that coming and shut down and stopped her operation. Risk versus reward. Ariella picked up some dog hairs off the chair's armrest. That makes sense. Billy stood and started pacing, taking a parallel track to Lincoln. The kid idolized Lincoln so much, he probably didn't even realize how he was adopting Lincoln's mannerisms. But Link saw skeletons, skulls, and anemone vines or whatever at Callista's club, Billy said. Isn't that evidence she was a dealer? Breeder is the right term, Magda said. Breeder, right. Billy reached the wall and turned. If Callista's so smart, why would she leave all that stuff there? I mean, even if it was there before she moved in, like her bodyguard claimed, it still looks suspicious as hell, doesn't it? It did, and it didn't. There were death cults worshipping Jorogumo before there were even cities, Magda said. Followers paid tribute by sacrificing people to the anemones, by making people lick pus and turning them into slaves. Old polyp chambers aren't unheard of. Sometimes they're found in ruins. Still, though, if I was her, I think I would have cleaned it out. Link said the vines were all dried up. From what Magda had read, there was no mistaking a living anemone. They glowed in sickly shades of yellow and green. Maybe she left them for a reason, Billy said. I can do some research, see what I can find. Lincoln waved a hand dismissively. Maybe she left him because it costs a lot to remove him, or maybe because it doesn't matter. If she claims it was there when she moved in, it's not enough to land her in deep shit. Not with Shocking Cock Khan on her payroll. Magda noticed Ariela's sneer at the mention of that lawyer's name. I hate that guy, she said. Okay, so the old polyp chamber is circumstantial evidence against Callista, but not enough to force a hand. That's why Dante needs the real evidence he claims he has. Depending on what that evidence is, it makes sense to have us to go get it. We're out collecting bounties, hunting monsters, and collecting magic loot all the time. It might look like business as usual for us. Lincoln stopped pacing. Everyone needs to sleep on it, he said. That includes me. If we do this, and it fails, I'm putting Sam in even more danger than he's in now. Magda leaned over, reached into the dorm fridge for her bottle of vodka. Thinking means drinking, she said. Link, you want a tasty beverage? Link looked at the bottle. What day is this? Wednesday, Billy said. Link closed his eyes, scrunched them, as if trying to remember something. No, not tonight, he said. I gotta go for a ride. Clear my head. He walked out of the nave. Magda wondered if she had said something wrong. I'm heading home, I'm heading home. Ariela stood, slid her feet into her high heels. Lincoln is right. We all need to sleep on it. I'll see you all in the morning. Magda sat there holding the bottle, feeling like an idiot. How about you, Lil B? Billy rolled out his neck. Yeah, why not? You want a panini to go with it? A panini did sound like it would hit the spot. Sure, Magda said. I got some gobbers, too. We could... Little Dragon let out a hoiking sound. She lurched to her feet, her stomach convulsing. She opened her mouth, let out more gagging sounds. Dragon! Billy ran to her, knelt by her. Baby girl, you all right? Magda thought back to what she had seen through Lincoln's eyes. Oh, damn it. Billy, if I were you, I would back up before... The pup convulsed again, and this time, her body expanded to her full-length dragon form an instant before she vomited the blackish mess of a half-digested lagoon all over the nave rug. Billy scrambled backward as if the thing was still alive. Dragon snapped back into her dachshund form, sat like a good girl, and licked her chops. Then the smell hit. Oh my God, Billy said, wincing and covering his mouth with a crook of his arm. Lord Jesus Christ, help me, oh Lord, please, the smell. Oh my God. Magda set her vodka bottle on the coffee table. Suddenly, she didn't feel like eating a panini anymore. Cute pump my fat ass, Billy. She's your dog. You go get a bucket. We got to clean up the big chunks, but that carpet ain't going to fix itself. I'll call Bingles. It's your turn, Lincoln. Are you good to share with us this week? Lincoln sort of heard the question, sort of didn't. It was hard to focus on anything but Dante's offer. Lincoln, I'm speaking to you now. There was nothing like a sanctimonious troglodyte checking up on you to piss you off. Yeah, Pluka, of course I'll share. I've been clean as a whistle. Which was a lie. He had done tequila shots at Ariella's, actually off of Ariella, the last time they had banged. It struck him, suddenly, that he'd turned down vodka shots with Magda to come to this meeting, a meeting about not drinking, because he had been drinking too much both on his own and with Magda, yet he had fallen off the wagon, for as much as a wagon as it was for him, to drink with someone else. It was, in a way, kind of cheating on his best friend. If Mags found out he and Ariella were screwing, he would never hear the end of it. If Mags found out he had gotten crocked with Ariella, and he wouldn't get crocked with her, that would break Magda's heart. Pluka tried to hide a doubtful frown, which wasn't easy to do when he had big old lizard mouth. You sure, Lincoln? You can share anything here. This is a safe place. Goddamn trogs. Maybe Lincoln should have killed him way back when. I'm sure, Lincoln said. Totally sure. Across the circle from Lincoln, faceless, featureless skin flushed with a burst of teal. It vanished just as quickly, the flat, blank face returning to its normal pale pink. The burlap sack-wearing faceless was a Nopera bow, a magical creature from Japan. Nopera bow could, supposedly, tell when someone was lying. Did Faceless know Link's words were bullshit? Was he judging Lincoln? That is fantastic, Pluka said. I'm very happy to hear it. You seem distracted. Is there something else on your mind? Anything the group can help with? Like Lincoln needed help from this band of rejects? Hardly. I'm fine. Just move on. Pluka nodded his big lizard head. Fine. If you change your mind, we are here to listen. Faceless, are you good to share with us this week? At the mention of that word, give me a second here to goof that up. Faceless was a gobber addict. Anytime he talked, the bat-looking new guy, Dakota, perked up. That was the thing with gobheads. You needed others doing it with you. Sharing the same hallucination with others was the drug's whole point. Ah, yes, Pluka-san, Faceless said, from somewhere unseen because he didn't have a mouth. I, too, have been clean as a whistle. As clean as 2 whistles, actually. Lincoln drew in a quick sniff. That one-upping son of a bitch was lying. Good work, Lincoln said with a smile. Real proud of you, bro. Lincoln felt his message was clear. You know I'm lying, I know you're lying, so let's both keep our fucking traps shut. Or keep whatever passed for a trap on Faceless's mouth. Or keep whatever passed for a trap on Faceless shut. A bit of crimson blossomed in the pale skin. No eyes, no mouth, no nose, but that didn't matter. Embarrassment looked the same on him as it did on anyone with pale skin. Thank you, Lincoln-san, Faceless said. As I am proud of you. The shitwipe got the message. Good. Mind your own goddamn business, and no one gets a backhand. Muffy, the melodramatic teenage vampire killer, let out her heaviest sigh of the evening. And there had already been several very heavy sighs. Oh, my God, like this whole thing has turned into a round-robin fellatio fest? She leaned her head backward over the folding chair. So bogus. Can we talk about me for a change? Rug off, said Doobie, the man-sized Great Dane. Roo Rutcha Rama Queen. Muffy sat up sharply, pointed at Doobie. At least, Lincoln thought she was pointing at him. Her hands were hidden inside the sleeves of her boyfriend's varsity jacket. You fuck off? I'm not a drama queen, you flea-bitten ganja hound. Are you going to tell us that you're clean? You smell like the bottom of Bob Marley's Rasta bag. I could probably, scrape enough resin out of your fur for a wake and bake with the entire Lumencia Leopard's offensive line. Around the circle, Lincoln saw annoyance from the others. A thud like a clap of thunder. Pluka slamming the haft of his stone axe against the YMCA's linoleum tile. That is enough, he said. I warned you both about talking out of turn. This is a safe space. We practice mutual respect. No insults. You will leave this meeting. Come back to the next one when you can properly participate. Now get out! Ruck this writ, Ruck this writ, Doobie said, as he padded out of the room on all fours. Muffy was right. The dog did smell like pot. Apparently, he didn't limit himself to his Doobie Snacks edibles to get high. Muffy stood, puffed out her lower lip. No one understands me. She stomped out, making sure each combat boot sole hit even harder than Pluka's axe. My God, Cray Cray Bray said. She needs a support group for teenage angst. Cray Cray was looking better, Lincoln had to admit. Her cluster of purple pigtails looked freshly dyed. Fewer scabs on her face and arms. Maybe she was kicking her addiction to filament shrooms. Maybe this group was helping. We all have our crosses to bear, Dakota said. Judge not, lest ye yourself be judged. Blazing hells, that man was ugly. Even for monsters, he was ugly. The big, hairy bat ears. The nose like a diseased snatch. Ich. That is a powerful phrase, Dakota, Pluka said. Are you a Christian? Dakota shook his head, which made his tall, pointed ears flop. I am not. One doesn't need to be to appreciate simple wisdom, though. The head turned, and the big black eyes locked on Lincoln. I sense great distress in you. Any stressor in life can lead to a backslide. Are you, perhaps, dealing with a family issue? Lincoln leaned forward, rested his elbows on his knees. You fancy yourself a fucking mind reader or something? The words came out low but hostile, thick with threat. Dakota shook his head again, and again his ears rattled. Good, Lincoln said. Mind your own goddamn business, or we'll have to step outside and have a little chat. A hush fell over the group as Skulger, the ink-black dark elf, slowly stood. Calm thyself, Rixator, she said. Your hostilities are self-imposed. Her voice reminded Lincoln of a whetstone grinding against sharp steel. This was Lincoln's 16th meeting. Maybe 17th. He wasn't good with such things. In all that time, the dark elf hadn't said more than an occasional hail when someone said hello to her, or the requisite, my name is Skulger and I am a henbane addict. Ex Rixator. Lincoln stood. If you want that chip knocked off your shoulder, you came shopping at the right store. He heard groans from everyone except Skulger. Sit down, Lincoln, Pluka said. Everyone is exhausted by your constant threats. Sit down and apologize. Lincoln glanced around, saw annoyance on everyone's faces. Except for Faceless, of course, because he didn't have a face, but Link sensed the emotion all the same. I don't constantly threaten people, Lincoln said. Yeah, you do, the others all said in unison. Did he do that? These monsters, these Okay, these people didn't want to hurt him. So why was he being such a cockknocker to them? Why was he always threatening to kick someone's ass? Maybe because that's what Jacoby used to do. Skulger sat, leaving Lincoln standing alone and feeling like a fool. Sorry. Sorry. I got a big decision to make. He looked at the bat-faced Dakota. About my family. He is not reading your mind, Pluka said. You have told us before you need to make amends to members of your family. Let us listen. What is on your mind? Amends. Of course. Lincoln had mentioned that several times. He still hadn't owned up to almost getting Sophia killed when he'd been drunk at Teddy Two Fingers. Dakota wasn't a mind reader as much as Lincoln had a shitty short-term memory. Lincoln sat. I have a family member who's in trouble. He wasn't about to mention his son, the Shelf, Dante, Callista, or anyone else. But once he started talking, he found it impossible to stop. I have an opportunity to get him out of trouble. It's dangerous. Dangerous for me, sure. I don't care about that. It's dangerous for him. Right now, he's stuck where he is, but he's safe. Kind of. If I try to get him out, and if I fail, he's in more danger than before. And there are other family members who want to help me out, but doing so puts them in great danger as well. I don't know what to do. Skulger again stood. I believe I know of which you speak, she said. Many years ago, the great serpent Glormunder, son of Itralgo, took King Hovender prisoner, threatening to kill him unless we delivered 86 stone of Hossingland apples every midwinter blot to Glormer's mountain lair. If we did not deliver Hossingland apples, Glormer would skin King Hovender and turn his tanned hide into a large toy that squeaks when chewed upon, to be given to Hrafnakor, son of Glomundur. While we could raid and pillage neighboring lands to acquire the 86 stones of Hossingland apples, we were good at raiding and pillaging at that time, and in my life We were good at raiding and pillaging, and at that time in my life I enjoyed such things. It did not change the fact that King Hofner remained a prisoner, living or dying at the whims of Glormundur, son of Itralglu. Is my tale, ex-Rixator, this situation you find yourself in now? So much detail. Lincoln's head spun. And yet, the basic premise was the same. Yeah, Lincoln said. So weird. I pretty much have exactly the same thing, give or take a few apples and a serpent or two. What did you do? We attacked, of course, Skulger said. There are worse things than death. No being of any ilk wishes to live as a prisoner. Any king worth his steel would rather die than be held as a slave. Any warrior worth his metal would rather die than see their king kept against his will. A life without freedom is no life at all. Lincoln had a sudden feeling he had made a mistake threatening Skulger. Sitting quietly in that folding chair, she didn't seem like much, but standing there talking, or rather perhaps orating, she had the air of someone who had seen some shit. Skulger is right, Dakota said quietly. We have to accept the things we cannot change, but we also must have the courage to change the things we can. Everyone in this room is a prisoner of choices made that became something we could no longer choose. We are here because we chafe against an imprisonment of our own making, are we not? Lincoln, if you were in your family member's shoes, would you wish to stay as safe as others would allow you to be, or would you court more danger so you could be truly free? Lincoln stared at the black-eyed man-bat. A few minutes ago, He had wanted to punch that monster's lights out. He had not expected the monster, the person, to drop a dose of logic, of wisdom. Sam had spent years in that hellhole. Too damn long. Sam's life imprisoned, it was no life at all. No matter what the risk, Lincoln now knew he had to try. I'd court danger, Lincoln said. I'd tell my family member to go for it. Skulger sat. Story time was over. And what a story it had been. I gotta go, Lincoln said. Thanks, you guys. Good meeting. He walked out of the room feeling afraid for Sam, yes, but also feeling newly invigorated, like he had purpose. Billy had already agreed to fight. Magda would too. Lincoln knew her better than she knew herself. As for Ariella, Lincoln didn't know. A few feet out the door, Lincoln stopped. He turned, walked back, peeked his head in. Skulger, did you rescue your king? Did you kill the serpent? The dark elf stood. Glormundr, son of Itralgo, was not outdone that day. There was much breathing of fire. The serpent killed and ate most of my fellow warriors, then made good on his threat. When the midwinter blot winds blow, we still hear the echoes of King Hrafnir's screams, and also the squeaking noises of the toy stitched of leather made from his flayed skin. Lincoln stared. Jesus, Cray Bray said. That's a fucking horrible story. Skulger said, no, it is a glorious story, for King Hrafnir no longer lived as a prisoner. The tale's dismal end changed nothing. Lincoln's mind was made up. I'll see you guys next meeting, he said. He left his fellow addicts to discuss their personal prisons, and this time he did not look back. David Lamb in the chat room. That is a horrible story. Yes, it is. It is. I probably have to go back and re-record that because those are all, Norwegian-inspired names, and I did not do a pre-production on how to get. I usually, when I do all the crazy names, in parentheses, I put the phonetic pronunciation before all of them. This time, I did not do that. So it's probably 18 different pronunciation for King Flornor. But that was really fun. So that character, I'm trying to impersonate the way people talked on the show Vikings, which was a great show. I think I made it through 4 or 5 seasons of that before I was done. Yeah, Recluse Mage, a lot of foreign name details. Rob says, no, a glorious story. Floki was the best character in that show by far. Anybody watch Vikings? Good shit. Baby girl, come on up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to move into deep cuts. And if you guys can hang out for a while, I would appreciate that because we're talking about a whole new endeavor that A and I are doing here at Empty Set Entertainment. And I would love to get your feedback. Also, I apparently can't pronounce anemone to save my ass. I don't know how many times. Edward Rocco says, awesome show. Yes, Floki does rule. It's great. Loved Vikings. I did not finish it. I think once the kids completely took over, I was like, it kind of petered out for me a little bit. There's only so much you can do. But who was the woman in that? Oh my God, she was friggin' fantastic. She was so good at the fighting bits. Hey, doll.
Hey, baby.
There you are. Hey, everybody, look who's here. A's going to sit down, and then we're going to get to work. At least all the text, I'm not going to jinx myself. I'm going to jinx myself. All the text stuff's working pretty good tonight. You could hear the Schwarmy sound I could see, right?
We could not.
You could not hear the Schwarmy sound. Dag nabbit.
I was making it.
Damn. All right. So can you remember, we got to fix that. We got to fix that as soon as I'm done here. I don't know what I did wrong, but I hear it clear as a bell. So, but I'm sorry, guys. That's an easily fixable thing. Stephen Bloomfield. Hey, well, how are you, man? What's going on?
How you doing?
Well, let's see here. We got David Lamb says, need to practice those unusual words during rehearsal. There is a rehearsal, right? David, there should be a rehearsal, except with the current writing workload. Not too much of a rehearsal these days.
There's just a production schedule.
There's a production schedule. We're working on that. We need to add that as well. Usually I do a dry read through of it. The day I get the stuff back from Rob and I do a read through. So just primarily to practice the voices and just read through the whole thing out loud and catch a couple other little things. But I did not have it done yesterday. I got half of it done yesterday, got the rest done today. So the part that I read to you where I had trouble with the pronunciations, Rob was literally giving me notes back on that 3 hours ago. A was giving me notes back 3 hours ago.
Not
so
even.
We couldn't even quite get that. So babe, when you do that edit, you're going to have to listen if those Viking pronunciations are just batshit crazy. I'll need to print Florin, Schwarin.
Bruce, are we talking about practice?
Let me know if I need to redo
talking
that.
About practice.
Okay, let's get you talking into the mic, please. Yeah, we are talking about practice. We're going to get A dialed in. James Coleman, how are you? James Coleman
is so nice to see you.
James Coleman got his folks to read my work too. That's the pimptastic action I'm fucking talking about.
Chris Grawl says, I'm serious. It's me going,
you know what? Guys, bear with us one sec. We'll take a quick.
You recording it?
No, I'm not going to record that. I will later. I'm going to take a quick look at this. So if I hit Schwarmy sound, so that plays.
I hear it in my headphones, but
Yep.
I don't think you guys probably hear that.
Ah, there it is. Hold on. Monitor off. Close. All right, ladies and gentlemen, tell me if you can hear this.
We don't hear that either.
Now, we don't hear it, but they might hear it.
They're saying they do not.
Cocksucker son of a bitch. Goddamn motherfucking piece of shit. Fuck.
Oh, wait.
That one is
one's audible,
okay.
but we can't hear it.
So the Apollo monitor's off. Oh, I see. It's monitor and output. Here we go. Let's try one more time, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
Oh, do you hear that? Michael Moore says yes. Bruce Bach says yes.
Rock and roll. Rock and roll.
Graham says yes.
Let's
Rob
say
Otto
that bitch.
Says yes.
Woo! Woo! Double up.
I always can't double up because my rings are pointy and they hurt him.
Bruce Bach says the most important people could hear it. And of course, that is the people who are listening. So fabulous. The Schwarmy sound is back, bitches. And now let's get into it. You ready? Lagatha. Brian Leach says Lagatha was his wife. And Lagatha was a fantastic, not only so ridiculously hot, would make the paint peel off a freshly painted room. She could fight. Her fighting was excellent. Like the physical fight choreography in that whole show was exceptional. Very, very, very good. Reminded me of La Femme Nikita. It was very, very good.
It was really fun.
Really good.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear yourself okay?
I can hear myself okay. I would love to be a tiny bit louder in my own headphones.
Your own
if that's
headphones?
okay.
I can fix that. Hold on. Try now.
Red Jacket
Try now.
Man. Oh, that's way better. Yeah.
Great. Real quick, guys, do A and I sound like we're basically the same volume? That's a big question. We've been working on. There's a lot of things that get... Good job, babe. Things get transferred here, so... Let's go ahead and get this up. Lagatha. Woo, she was fine. She fine. She fine. She good.
Sean, you're totally right. There is always a lag that we don't understand, even when we're self-testing here at home and I'm downstairs and upstairs. So you're totally right. It would be more useful to assign numbers. And
why am I not hearing you for shit?
I'm hearing myself.
Let me bring
for
this
shit.
in a little bit. Okay, scoot a little. Nope. Actually, I'll bring this over here. Bring your computer over a little bit. So if you have to use bring your computer over here. Still working out the bugs, but everything has gone pretty good. Audio is level. Perfect. That's all we need to hear. Same for, because it's one of those weird things because I talk and I'm hearing my own voice reverberate in my big bald dome. And then A talks, even though they're the same level, I sound immensely louder. But your voice is lovely, by the way.
Yours is too.
Oh, thank you.
I have a friend who used to try and find their car in a covered parking garage by putting the key up to the soft part here.
You got to get close to the mic, babe.
And ding, 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 ding. So it would reverberate in their head and maybe go further. And we A/B tested it. And I have no idea if that's a real scientific thing, but
okay.
He found our car and I did not.
Now, real quick, babe, can you look over here when you see where mine is at? Come zeros?
Yeah.
And when you look that way, it's coming up zero. So keep an eye on this as you go. You've been down here the whole time?
Is there any chance we could put that somewhere where I can see it?
Yeah, we can make that happen. You came to the right place. We'll figure it out.
Or right even
there.
That helps. So can you pay attention to that one too, though?
Of course.
Way over there? Okay.
Of course.
All right.
We don't need that. We just need to see those levels. Great. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get rolling now.
Okay, doke. That's mine. Where's yours?
Nope, this is mine. How dare you?
How dare?
How dare. That's the phrase du jour of the Sigler household. How dare. Okay, here we go. And let's get ready to rumble. You ready, babe? Let's get ready to rumble.
I am.
Okay, ready?
Sure.
Oh, I got to record first.
I thought you were starting on It's Time for Deep Cuts. Do you have that timer ready?
Oh, we've already got, we're good to go.
Okay.
We're past that. Record. Let's start recording. Okay, I'm doing a quick test. I see audio. Go ahead, baby.
I see audio and dead people.
Yeah, you're still talking real.
I see audio and dead people.
So try and position, before we get rolling, try and position yourself where you feel comfortable, and I'll adjust the volume.
I see audio and dead people.
That's not comfortable to be right on top of the mic.
I mean, but
yeah, I need you
have to be right on top of the mic.
I know, but I need to adjust your volume to where you're comfortable to do the show. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I see dead people. I see dead people. Do I see dead people? I'm not sure if I see dead people. I'm trying to look there, but I'm also trying to look in the camera, so I don't know.
Great. So that means I just need to bring you up a snooge.
Great. Snooge.
Now talk.
All right. Do I see dead people?
Yeah, but if I bring that up, you can't lean back into the mic, though. You have to choose.
I'm in the same spot. Do we see dead people? Anybody see dead people?
Okay, here we go. That's what we're going to do. The rest of it's up to Steve. Okay, ready? People say, take my money, FTO, all the time. Well, we're adding something to our feed that will make people happy that I am taking their money.
Wait. Changing the feed? Will folks still be able to get the same access to the feed as ever?
Yes. As always, we dance with the one that brought us. Everything that's now free stays free. What we are adding is a premium subscription model.
Well, this sounds like a big deal. Let's get into it right after this quick break. Again?
Nope, we're good.
I do have to blow my nose, though.
And we're still. Oh, thanks, James. That's very nice of you. James just threw us a little 5 AUD. Don't know exactly what that is. Australian dollars. Beautiful. I thought it was some YouTube abbreviation or something like that. Okay. What I can't figure out why we've had sound problems. We're trying to recalibrate. Is when you lower your voice, does it sound the same loud to you, or does it sound quieter to you when you lower your voice? Like right now, it sounds the same to me with her. I'm going to talk a little louder. So maybe it sounds the same to you.
I mean, it sounds the same to me when I'm talking. I'm not sure if it sounds the same
That's
to
right.
you when
I forgot about the
talking.
internal reverberation. Good. Let's just keep doing your thing. And we got a fun show for you guys. Here we go. Ready?
Sure.
Welcome to Deep Cuts, the bonus episode of the Scott Sigler Slices Fiction Podcast, where a sci-fi author and an audiobook narrator discuss things and stuff in the world of fiction and pop culture. I am Scott Sigler, sci-fi horror author known far and wide as the future Dark Overlord.
And I'm A.B. Sigler, empty set publisher and audiobook narrator. And on this episode of Deep Cuts, we're talking listener-supported podcasts and our upcoming subscription model.
A reminder, this is a bonus episode of the Scott Sigler Slices podcast, not part of any particular story. You don't have to listen to keep up on the story, but we think you'll like this peek behind the curtain. And actually, you know what? We'd love your input. And if you hear this after the fact, you can email us at info@emptyset.com.
So let's get into this. And you guys, we need you guys in the chat room listening to this live, and anybody who's listening to this discussion that happens right here, to contribute to what you guys would like in our freemium listener-supported model that we're going to get into. This is a new thing in podcasting. It's come about since the gig the gig economy, the Zoom mentality, there's a lot of things that are changing. And now there's I don't know if it's the 15th arm of
it's really
ways
interesting
to get access, but this is one of them.
A quick recap on the general history of podcasting. Podcasts come out. Everybody's sort of doing it for free. It's sort of a lark, a funsy, whatever. They're doing it to build an audience. People start doing it to build up their personal brand, to sell things. I started doing it to get a publishing deal. I was like, if I can prove that I have hundreds of thousands of downloads every week of my podcast, then you guys know there's an audience. You should pick up my book and publish it and do all of that stuff. Along the way back when in 2017-ish, 2007, 2008, back then, podcasting got big enough that advertisers started to pay, primarily affiliate codes, like use code Sigler to buy this, and then we get a little taste. A little taste.
I joined the Junkies at this point in your trajectory, kind of 2006-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing. If I could use any podcast code from many of my podcast, the people who were giving me podcast joy, I could do that. I could do that by using advertisers, using a code at a certain website. I could also do it back in the day when audiobooks was a thing. There was a tip jar, and I could tip my favorite.
Tip jars were a big one, yep.
Audiobook authors, which I did, which is actually how part of the reason that we ended up meeting and getting into business together. But now the gig economy has evolved, and there's a need, and rightfully so, for every model that works for Scott's fans to be available. And that's kind of what we're planning to do here.
And then there were landing pages. Speaking of which, a current advertiser is quince.com. You should go to quince.com/Sigler. There's all kinds of fancy pants, sexy, good-looking clothing at 50 to 80% off the retail cost or compared to their own competitors. And if you go to quince.com/Sigler, take a look at any of that juicy stuff that you want there. They got $50 cashmere sweaters, which are sick. They're really nice. I look good in them. And you get 365-day return, and you get free shipping just by going there.
And I'll just add, if you're not a clothing girly or a clothing person, but you do love a great, really heavily scented candle, they're the best in the business. I've purchased at least a dozen already.
Yep. And the house smells absolutely lovely. That's quince.com/Sigler. Check that out. So that happens. Advertising comes in. Landing pages come in. Tip jars come in. Patreon starts up. And Patreon was where you would pay for something ahead of time so that the creator gets the money to make the thing to send you that you paid for ahead of time. We, of course, A and I were way, way, way ahead of this. We were pre-ordering The Rookie before we had any money to make it. Way back in what year was that?
2008. We were
2008.
We were launching at the same, Scott's GFL model, our GFL model, was launching at the same time that Patreon was launching, but no middleman, right? Patreon's a middleman. They get a tiny slice off the top. So does GoFundMe, so does all of those. And well, they should. But we kind of launched at the same time. And what we did was, hey, if you give us this money today, in October, 10 months from now on a Tuesday, we will give you a hamburger today. Like, we will give you the book you asked for, but it will take 10 months to give it to you, and you'll just have to wait for that. And that model has worked for ages for us. We never joined Patreon because if we joined Patreon, we'd end up having to give Patreon a little bit of overhead.
Which is totally fine.
Absolutely. But we had already done it before that model popped up. So we never joined Patreon, even though many people have asked, can I give Scott money every month? Scott's whole model has always been, I want you to have something for your investment in me. I want you to have a book. I want you to have a special limited edition book. I want you to have special access. And so we've never joined Patreon because those things didn't, there wasn't anything additive for Scott's
It didn't work for us.
But now...
But there have been several podcasters who came in with us, Nathan Lowell, among others, who had a Patreon-based podcast where you get all kinds of extra stuff. Really cool.
Mur Lafferty,
and several others I'm blanking on right now. But people with happy listeners, happy customers, getting all the good stuff getting it early. There's a lot of different things going on Patreon. We've never done it because we've just been giving away everything for free. Then, yes?
But Welcome to Night Vale is the one that bridged the gap here. They started on Patreon and are a subscription-based model.
They had a free, and then they did Patreon. And they did happy customers, happy content makers, everybody's winning. Never worked for us. We're getting to that in just a second. But then this third iteration of podcasts blowing up has happened, and advertisers got back in again, which is why all of our podcasts now are through the realm.fm network, and there are ads inserted upon download. So when your feed downloads our podcast, or you go to our site and play it, or you click to download it, and a current paying advertiser gets inserted into specific slots. The whole reason we're doing Slay the way we're doing Slay is because we were trying to run ads against, say, the rookie or the MVP or the starter, where the episodes could be 12 minutes or the episodes could be 30 minutes, and ads are just getting shoehorned in. And you know what? You get it for free. We get paid. It's not the best listening experience. So we started to write Slay. Specifically, the goal was 10 minutes, commercial, 10 minutes, because yours truly is very long-winded. Sometimes wind up being 15, 20 minutes, and then you get an ad in there. But now that we've got that dialed in, everything's working. However, that brings us to the point of our conversation. There are fiction-based podcasts that are with people who are much younger than we are now, which is fucking freaky. And they are doing numbers that are much above what we have done. This is reality. People have come in with young blood, new styles, mostly full cast audio, which is the current flavor du jour. And these people are running their podcasts with ads inserted. But what they're also doing is what, baby?
They're giving you options to listen and options to support in different ways. So we're going to attempt to do what is called a listener-supported model. It's very important to us to say that listener-supported models often come with what they call a freemium model. Like a part of that is the freemium. You can subscribe, but it doesn't cost you anything. You can subscribe, and it costs you a little bit more, and you get a little bit more, all the things. So we're going to talk a little bit about that right now. There are many different options, and I will say right now, again, we're sorting this out for ourselves right now. There is no set plan. We're not telling you what the new model will be. You guys who are hearing this right now can help us influence this as we move forward. Because one thing that's very important to Empty Set and very important to Scott is what he mentioned at the top of the Deep Cuts episode, which is we danced with the ones that brought us. We want there to be an option for you to get the same thing you've always gotten if that's the thing you can do.
So let me say this one last time. Then we're not going to bring it up again for the rest of the show. We made our bones on people who simply couldn't afford to buy my books, and people who couldn't afford to do the advertising. We would get emails all the time. People like, man, I feel bad listening to your stuff every week. You work so hard. You put out so much stuff. I'm in school. I don't have a job. I got laid off. I want to listen to you. It's very important to me, but I feel bad I can't subscribe. I can't fund. And we're like, we don't give a flying fuck, because we've both been there. Everyone listening has been in that point where you just don't have any cash. Let me get this out of the way right now. We're going to implement a subscription-based service. If you don't want to pay for it or you can't afford it, keep listening to the free stuff. We don't give a shit. It's not going to bother us one bit. If you're politically opposed to paying for a podcast, I don't even care about that. All of our stuff will continue to be free with ads inserted in it, and that is the way it will be. Now, let me move on to the next thing.
Well, I want to hammer on that.
Okay.
Everything we podcast will be available for free is still true. It's not that you're going to get an abridged version of the full audio. What you're going to get in the free model is what you already get, which is a free model with an advertisement in the middle or the beginning or whatever. So moving forward from here, we're going to add to what we already have. So
let's get into it. Now, first we're going to tell you the company we have partnered with. Then we're going to show you a couple of fiction podcasts that we have listened to and talked to and show you what they are doing. And then a couple other podcasts we're not involved with, show you what they're doing. Then we're going to bounce all the way back and start talking about what we're thinking about we're going to offer, because we're kind of all over the place on this. So let's get into, go to books. Our partner we have signed up with is called Supporting Cast. Supporting Cast is a company specifically oriented to subscription model podcasts. They're apparently doing very well. They work with NPR, Wondery, WNYC, Q Code, Slate. If you don't know what those names are, Vox Media, Lemonade. These are huge multi-podcast networks that make a shit ton of money if they get the podcast. What they're going to do is help us craft our
listener experience, our listener, and for the podcast, our listener experience, which is not to say we're not leaving Realm. We love Realm. This is additive to Realm. Mm-hmm. This is additive to everything we're already doing. They will help engage our customer and listener database to do things like they have the ability to bring back a forum that is specifically about Scott Sigler and Scott Sigler's slices and Scott Sigler's audio. They are also a platform where you can join and other people are using Supporting Cast. This is specifically about giving you guys a better experience that used to be there back in the day, but then as everything got platformed onto bigger platforms like Facebook or Twitch or Discord or whatever, kind of stratified out, this is giving a fan-specific platform back.
Now remember those of you who were around back in the 07, 08 era, before Facebook came out, we had 14,000 people at scottsigler.com, people participating in the chat rooms, in the forums. It was a wonderful experience, a lot of great community building. Facebook came in, stole a whole bunch of that, and then spamming for SEO links came out, and we spent years trying to find a solution to deal with that as a two-person company. We simply could not, and after a long fight, we had to raise the white flag and just shut down our forums because there was nothing we could do to control them. That tech has apparently come a lot better. So we're going to be reintroducing some forums, trying to get back to that community that we built back in the day. We're going to do that through Supporting Cast.
And we have a couple of other things that Supporting Cast can help us do, like a subscriber-only chat or live stream or something like that. Where it's
as A talks, I'm going to flash up some of the podcasts that Supporting Cast does. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then we should. Sorry. Yes, and then we should actually look, because one of the things that Scott and I have not done at all is figure out what those tiers look like for the premium content. Again, basic is freemium. You can get that. For us is probably you can just join our Supporting Cast platform. You might have to do it with ads, but you can do it if you can join a low subscription per month model. Like I subscribe to, I think 10 or 15 people at $1 or $2 a month on Patreon or whatever, and also Supporting Casts. I love 99% Invisible, which was just on the screen. I love that podcast. I subscribe $1 a month. So things like that will happen. And we're going to have a handful of subscription tiers and a handful of things that you can do once a year or once as you renew to get something.
Now, real quick, what we're going to talk about is some of the ideas that we have for the feeds. And we are not promising or guaranteeing anything that we're talking about right now. We're just trying to figure it out for ourselves. We're going to work with Supporting Cast, and we're going to figure that out. Number one, ad-free feeds. We're guessing about $5 a month subscription fee to get the same feeds that are going out at the same time. We're not ready to do any of this early run stuff or exclusive content stuff in that particular feed. $5 a month, you're going to get all the feeds we currently put out, all the old stories, everything, without any ads included. Okay. Then we're going to try and leverage from there in the same tier to maybe some of the shit you can do is crazy. Like maybe people want to fucking watch me write on like Wednesdays from like 3 to 4 Pacific time. Like we don't know. We're going to figure that out. Supporting cast says there's a lot of people are really into things that A and I wouldn't, but nobody wants to fucking watch me write shit. Apparently people do. So things along that line we might do. So the basics are the ad-free feed. We at this point do not plan on introducing any exclusive fiction content in this subscription tier. What are some of the other things we're thinking about with the subscription, babe?
So we're going to talk about that when we come back. Right now, we have to take a very quick break. If you have a minute, listen to any ads that pop up. There's only 1 or 2, and it really helps the show. And we'll be right back to talk about specifics after this.
Okay. Do this for me. If you're going to read, put it here. So you're line between you, the microphone, and the paper.
Okay, but that means that I'm going to look like that on the camera. Which
they understand. They understand. Okay. Remember this, You guys get to see us live, and then we rip this audio for the podcast. But this live experience, we don't get a whole lot of watches after the fact. We do get some, and it's great, but still.
Yeah.
Michael, we'll get to that question after this, Michael Moore. You ready to get back to me, baby?
I am.
Here we go.
Second. Yeah, well, give me a second.
No. I think Cray Bray is going to be there like, yeah, method, yeah. Sorry, here we go. Ready? Cray Bray, you guys. You'll see more from Cray Bray. I'm very excited about Cray Bray because that's one of the few voices I do that's up in this register. Like it's a Beavis and Butthead voice, which doesn't grind on my voice at all. I'm delighted to not have I got another character who talks like this. I'm done with those guys. Okay, ready? Wait, where am I? I got excited and I got lost. Here we go. And go. Welcome back to Deep Cuts.
This episode, we're talking about our listener-supported podcast and our upcoming subscription model.
That is awesome. Your voice sounds magnificent when you do that, by the way. Such a buttery voice.
Well, thanks.
You know what? This goes in the podcast. I don't care. A's voice is a huge part of why I'm so fucking enamored with this woman. Absolutely over the top with this girl. Her voice is just, woo, so perfect for me. So good.
So we are going to talk about how this happens. We are figuring it out, but we will talk about things, and we're going to show you some listener-supported subscription models
coming
right up here. We don't know. We're not promising you anything you'll see here, and we want to hear from you what would be good for you to have.
Now, if you are listening to this podcast, no matter when you listen to it, and you have an idea for something cool you would like to see in the paid subscription feed, email us info@emptyset.com. People watching right now, Michael Moore has some ideas. Other people have ideas. Go ahead and email those ideas to info@emptyset.com. A lot of people are perfectly willing, like, I don't give a shit. I love what you do. We'll pay for this. No problem. Tell us what you would like to see or hear in our feed.
And also, before we show you some other subscription model, freemium models, I want to mention Cobalt in the chat room on YouTube says, I don't like the exclusive content idea, though. And I am with you. I also don't. What I don't mind is you can get this right now 6 months in advance or 3 months in advance or whatever.
Right.
By subscribing right now. If you want to wait for it to end up in the feed, again, we're a freemium model. It will eventually get there if we can do it. Scott has a book, as he's mentioned several times, that he can't talk about. It's under NDA that may or may not come out in 2026 or 2027. We can't really talk about it. What we are able to say is the name of that book is Warpath. If it ever comes out, that's kind of all we're allowed to say. And if it does come out, we'll never be able to podcast it. Mm-hmm. But for us, what we think is we can never give you that. We can never do that. We can never put Warpath in the podcast feed. But we can talk about the situation around Warpath or the research that he did or things that you may want to know if you have consumed Warpath if it comes out in 2026. We can do that in the feed. So I agree with you. An exclusive content, some people can never get this.
We don't want to do that.
We're going to do this so that, because we're a business, so we have to be able to fund our lives.
Correct.
But if we can fund our lives and still eventually, if you're patient and willing You can have all
Cobalt
the stuff.
also says in the chat room, don't know how to explain it. For the people who can't afford it, it creates distance between the fan and the creator. Totally understand what you are saying, and that is why we have taken so long to get into this market that can be a potentially lucrative market for podcasters, a couple of which we're going to get into in a second. Number one, the actual story content that we podcast is going to continue to be available free, ad-supported. Number two, the weekly live streams, we haven't really given a lot of thought because he's taken an enormous amount of work, is those are also going to be continue to be a free thing. There are some things that we will be considering adding to things we are not doing right now, because if we're getting paid to do those things, that might give us more leverage to do those things. So, Kabal, I understand what you were saying. This is all going to be a big consideration for us. This is why we want those emails to info@nbset.com. Let us know what you think. This is a huge decision. We've never done anything like this ever before, but we also have to be realistic to the realities of the marketplace. A couple of podcasts we're going to talk about right now, they are able to fund much larger projects, including tours, including print books, including role-playing games, including all of these assets, because they have a subscription model that pays for this work to be done.
And those tours are like, to be able to fund a tour means people who can't get to, or who will never ever be able to come to a place to meet Scott. If we come to you, that's easier to do. You don't have to buy anything there. Like, we want to be able to fund it traditionally speaking so that you can just come and hang out.
D79 in the chat room asks, will this affect your writing schedule? That's possible. We don't know. But looking at this long term, one of the things a option like this might provide us for, if we have a certain amount of increased revenue, being able to bring in more help to help with some of the things that I'm doing, to take away from that, to give me more time to writing. So while initially, without a doubt, this will impact my writing schedule, because right now I do all the technical stuff, I do all the streaming stuff, that's all sort of in my network. Let's say we get a subscription model going, we're making some money, and we can turn that money over to someone who can handle some of these other things. Boom, all of a sudden, that time comes back to me for writing, because we can pay someone to do the stuff that we're not doing right now.
So Tyler Miller in the chat room on YouTube says, I think making a hub that makes it easy to explore and access the Siglerverse easy, I assume you're saying would be good. Then you say paid stuff should have some fun perks that don't distance those that don't want or cannot pay. And exactly right. That is exactly who we are. We are, folks, lots of Patreon models. You may not know this, but lots of Patreon models have a free subscription tier. It includes ads in the podcast, ads in the video, all that jazz. But it also gives you early alerts. It gives you print versions of works in progress if you're following an author, things like that. We're doing exactly what you're saying, Tyler. We want to make a hub for folks who, if you can't say every single month, I can give you $1, but you still want to be subscribing, you can do that. But in any given month, you want to hop up and do a little extra because you want to join a movie watch night or a thing like that we've seen on so many Patreons. We're going to try and figure out what to do like that we can do.
Now, let's go ahead. We're going to talk about a couple of the other things we've talked about with Sporting Cast, which, to be frank, we said, hey, can we do this? They're like, we fucking don't know, because no one's asked us to do this before. So we're going to throw out some pie in the sky things in a minute. But for now, let's take a look at a couple of the tall hogs of the trough right now in the world of podcast fiction. Go to number one, our pals at Fool and Scholar.
You have met them.
Fool and Scholar, KA Stats, we've not talked to her. Travis Van Groff has been a guest on the show.
Yeah,
you
guys know them.
They are both incredibly hardworking, creative, talented, again, really hardworking, fan-centric people. And they have many, many shows, which are great. The shows they have include The White Vault, Dark Dice, Fast Horizon, Liberty, Don't Mind, The Born Knight. Basically, we know, and I know from our experience, these people have no life. They have zero life outside of all they do is create all the time. That's all they do. But what they have is they are on Patreon. So Fool and Scholar, with many, many, many podcasts, has a citizen tier on Patreon. $5 a month. What do you get? Access to early released episodes, ad-free episodes, and production blog posts. Access to an exclusive RSS. Don't know if we'll do that. Access to the first episodes of multiple exclusive miniseries. All kinds of good stuff. And then they start to go up from there. So basically what Fool and Scholar is doing is saying, hey man, if you love what we're doing and you have discretionary income that you want to give to us, here's the extra shit that we're going to give to you that is apparently not story related. You go to Initiate. That's access to early released episodes. I don't know that we'll ever do that because that's a whole level of production we can't do.
Maybe not. The ad-free or the specific RSS, that's a lot easier. So I will say, I think the early is no.
Well, we'll figure it out. But they have a paid tier to get to Discord access. Our Discord will probably continue to be free. And then they've got their research. Now, we're going to talk about the next podcast. In addition to this, researcher level, $20 a month, which is what, $240 a year. Basically, they're like, bros, if you guys just got extra money, you want to give it to us, here's a whole level with extra shit. But the point is, there are a lot of people who have that extra scratch and just want to find a place to spend it, which they're making available, and that's perfectly fucking fine.
And Scott is weird in that he is an original podcaster. He is a absolutely origin level podcaster, but he's also a novelist. So one of the things that a lot of podcasts don't have that Scott does have is actual physical product coming out in the book world. So those may come into our tiers in some way or another. But this is one of the things. So many of you are sort of saying, hey, I drop $5 all the time on many Patreons or whatever that I love. Yeah. This is why we're having this podcast to talk about these things, because we're kludging into it right now and we'd like to see what it looks like. That said, I do think we have to break in and talk about Zach's.
What?
Zach Parrish, who built the...
For those who listen to the podcast, in the chat room, we do a live podcast every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can join us live at twitch.com/Scott Sigler, twitch.tv/Scott Sigler, youtube.com/Scott Sigler, facebook.com/Scott Sigler. And we often get people in the chat room talking. One of those people is Chris Grawl, Zach Parrish, brought to us by Chris Grawl. Zach Parrish is the builder of the RR36 recoilless rifle, a feature of the Crypt series. We'll show you a full RR36 soon. Just welcomed his daughter to the world, Isabella Victoria Zach Parrish, born March 5th, 2025, 9:48 Eastern time. That's some super fucking fun shit right there. Okay, now back to shoot. The baby. The baby made me lose my
I
thought.
know, me too.
Oh, couple quick thoughts. I remember what it was. Sorry. I got the geas. Think about the last time you guys went to a movie. Say you take two people to a movie on an actual weekend night. That's now in the ballpark in a city. That's about $50 before concessions, before driving, before parking, right?
Yeah.
So at $5 a month, $60 a year, that's less than you and a significant other or a buddy going out to a movie and going to get beers. Yep. One single night is more than what we're probably going to be asking at our basic level, right?
And we have several folks who save your podcasts when they're in the car together, or they're making dinner together, or it's after the kids have gone down and they're hanging out together. They spend the first 30 minutes listening to the most recent work in progress episode, however that happens. Mm-hmm. This is the perfect model for that.
Now we're going to take a look at another podcast that is extraordinarily, they've done a great job. They take care of their fans. They make good content. Old Gods of Appalachia, which is absolutely one of the more dominant fiction podcasts. They've been around for years. They're this quaternary stage pentastage podcasts that have come in with a full cast, limited production costs, keeping it simple, writing stories that are easily digestible, episodic stuff, but they have blown up, done a great job. So they have all these episodes, all these podcasts. They've got role-playing games. They've got merch. They do a great job. But the thing that we're looking at is they have a thing called The Holler. The Old Gods of Appalachia is all about these old cultures that exist in America. What does he call them? Not neighbors. Damn it, I forgot the phrase. He's got a tagline for his audience, a family. It's the people we all know family out in the boonies that don't live in the cities.
Hey, Zach Parrish.
Zach Parrish in the chat room.
Congratulations.
So The Holler is the Old Gods of Appalachia's paid service. And these guys are so fucking good at what they do. Let me read you the titles of the tiers. So this is, you know, Appalachia, out in the woods, small towns, no paved roads, houses with dirt floors, horror. That's what it is. Tier 1, we know you from church, family. That is $5 a month.
We know you from church.
We know you from
church.
church.
Sort of offends me and also regulates me. And I want to say, like, yes, thank you.
The second tier they have at $10 a month is not blood, but almost kin family. And that gets you things like exclusive storylines, access to private subscribers-only Discord channel. Again, a private Discord channel is beyond our ability to manage. We're never going to get into that. Then they move on to $20 a month. Blood kin. This is an annual care package. They send you stuff. Pre-sale access to live show tickets when possible. Participate in the quarterly AMAs. This is stuff now, going back to the people in the chat room, like, hey man, if you put up a paywall, it's not the same thing. Being a free podcast is not going to get you in to see a live show in a theater, which is one of the things that Old Gods of Appalachia does. Can we do that? We don't know, but go ahead.
Also, though, Old Gods of Appalachia does a quarterly Ask Me Anything. We already do that right here. And what we're saying to you guys is we're doing this to sustain ourselves because we're a business, but we're going to give you options to dance with the one that brought you. And I believe that even when we engage with this model, the Q&A episodes will be accessible to everyone.
Yeah. But they might be ad supported.
Yeah, of course. Of course. They are ad supported right now. So if you want to get out of that, great. If you don't, great. But we're going to have options.
So now going back to this is just me celebrating the entrepreneurial spirit and the ability to understand, recognize, and cultivate a particular audience group. Still on Old Gods of Appalachia. Their $50 a month tier. We're not going to do this. $50 a month tier is called the Keepers of the Green family. This benefit includes, of course, all the other lower tiers, but then they have a high-quality custom recording produced for you or a loved one once per calendar year. Imagine this character on your voicemail or that character saying happy birthday to your mom. Audio can be up to 3 minutes and also include character voices by Steve or Kim. So let's talk about this tier for a second. So this is people who are paying, what's $50 a month in annual cost? She'll figure that out. She's good at math. This is $640 a year. And really the only perk they're offering is like, hey man, do you want a 3-minute recording you can show off to your pals? If you've got $640 a month and you want to pay that, good for them. Everybody fucking wins. You know what you're not getting on my free weekly podcast feed that's ad supported? I don't have time to make a 3-minute recording for your pals. So what these guys have done, which is really, really smart, is they're like, listen, family, if you've got money you don't know what to do with and you want to throw it our way, well, tell you what, here's a couple of tiers. And then, ready for the next one? The Council of the Unseen Elders. This is insane shit. This is $100 a month. $1,200 of your hard-earned buckets. Beth Copenhagen in the chat room. See you later. $1,200 of hard-earned money a month. This is You get to have an in-show side character named after you. Now, we've already been doing this for fucking free. All you gotta do is get a tattoo, right?
I mean, not for fucking free.
It's not free. You gotta get a fucking tattoo.
Forever.
But this is the insane levels. What A and I try to recall all the time is we're doing perfectly fine. We've worked very hard for a long time. I have been investing literally every minute of my life into making shit for you guys, into making things, and then take care of business and try and look for new ways to get paid to write stories for 25 years. And it's been my goal since I've been in the 6th grade to get paid to make stories and do this. What you find is, even if you're doing well in life, there are always other levels of success that you have trouble conceiving, right? You're like, who in the fuck would pay $1,200 a year to get their side name character mentioned once or twice in a podcast that a very tiny percentage of the world will listen to? There's a lot of people who will do shit like that, right? So this is what we're talking about. This is the fun, super fun premium stuff that does not detract from the regular ad-supported podcast feed. Again, let me say this one more time. If you have any ideas of super cool shit that you'd like to see in this, or regular shit that you think should be in a $5 a month subscription fee, email it to info@emptyset.
I will say one more thing. We get weekly emails, if not daily. You were chewing ice. Let me
Sorry, go ahead.
I will also say this. We get weekly, if not daily, emails that say, Scott, can you join Patreon? Can you join Cameo? And I'll just offer.
We never did Cameo, did we?
We never did, and here's the reason. We want to do a listener-supported podcast like this, and I'm not going to tell you if somebody from Old Gods of Appalachia could, for less than $100 a month, give you a 3-minute video. But we're not going to do both things without telling you we're going to do both things, which is we don't have a Cameo, because if you need Scott to send a video to you, we want you to, do that thoughtfully. And if we're going to do this moving forward, we want to do that thoughtfully for you guys. So we get a lot of questions about if Scott will join Patreon, if Scott will join Cameo. And I think this is the way we're going to lean into that.
So that is what we're going for. We have more information coming for you guys soon. We've gathered a lot of information from the chat room on this live stream and a lot of reminders to stick to our roots, to dance with the one that brought you. And again, everything I'm able to podcast will be podcast for free and ad supported. We may wind up putting in some other things, but when you think about it, $60 for the root level of ad-free stuff that you can listen to and download anything you want and just keep listening to it over and over again, that's fucking peanuts, man. In the current world of entertainment dollars, what does Netflix cost a month now?
It depends on what you do,
like
but I think the
18,
minimum
20?
is $18.99.
You're talking about $18.99. Yeah, you start to add that stuff up, and it's a great service. I don't get me wrong, it's a great service. But there's a lot of stuff, so we will be working on this. There'll be more information for you coming in the future. If you haven't listened to this podcast in 2026, 2027, this service may already be available to you. Steve Bloomfield in our chat room comes up with yet another great question. Can Premium get tier chats with Shitbird, who is a character from my ongoing series, Slay? The answer would be probably. We don't know. Jaded Monument 83 says it's definitely worth exploring. We agree. It is worth exploring. We're gonna dip our toe in the water with a couple of basic tiers. But I might get in trouble for this with my partner / wife.
It's a good thing he's so talented.
Some of the things we were talking about is, could we set a tier for X amount of dollars that would include, we're putting out a print hardcover of a thing. And if you want to be first in line to get that, your subscription cost is going to include that book plus shipping to get that book to you. What does that do to your mindset now. Now you're talking about like, well, I would have paid $40 to $50 for a signed hardcover limited edition. Now that's included in the subscription fee. That's the kind of things that we've pitched to supporting cast. They're like, they don't know. And we're like, what if we put out a special audiobook? They're like, they don't know. So they're trying to work with us. I got a lot of books to write. I got to get to this. But there's a lot of things that we can do as people who put out print books that other people can't do that are beyond the podcast.
And there are things that supporting cast could do. When they say, we don't know, they're not saying, they're saying, we don't know. Do you want to try that? Let's figure it out. So we could be the model too, moving forward.
We will figure it all out. We will figure it all out. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, last time, if you have thoughts on what might go into a subscription model, of problems you have with a subscription model, of you're pissed that we're even offering a subscription model, or you're like, Jesus Christ, God, all I've wanted to do is give you $10,000 a year, my whole goddamn life. All of these things, email those to info@emptyset.com. Let us know, because we love our fans. But you know what? We also like eating and money and shit like that.
Yeah, and a roof
we make
over the heads.
Roof over the head. And we deserve that because we make fucking awesome fucking shit for you guys. We bust our ass at it. And that is the way it goes.
Hang out with you guys.
We love hanging out with you guys. That is it for this episode of Deep Cuts.
Next episode, we'll discuss what Scott wishes he knew before getting published.
And we may have some guest comments from authors you may know, hopefully, saying, oh, here's the one thing I wish I had done before I got published. One thing I wish I knew of the entertainment industry. We're going to seek out other creators who can give us this information, and I think it's going to be a very, very good time.
And if any of you who are trying to get published have questions, email them to info@emptyset.
Okay, that is it for us. Goodbye. Okay. So we're going to talk about production notes because we had so much trouble with our audio. We had to figure this out. I think we have to keep your headphones down because you keep doing this. And it's it's at a 2.
Is that what's happening?
Like
so
this.
Lower this for me.
Okay,
Lower
great.
the headphones
Let's try it
for
out.
me.
Guys, this is
You
the
guys
behind the scenes
help
shit.
us, if you will.
Because right now I'm looking at the waveform for the audio. And of course,
I am now too also. That's really low.
That's
but what you're
extremely low.
saying is I keep quieting up when I get down.
Right. This is when you were away from the microphone, so you were projecting more.
All right.
And this is when you looked at the microphone, and it makes it what this does, it makes it difficult for editing after the fact because you have to keep adjusting the levels.
So
Which, see, I'm fairly loud and consistent.
Yeah, for sure. Now that it's low, is there?
Now try. Just have a normal. Listen in your ears. Just have a normal conversation with me.
Yeah, so Sean is saying the same thing. Like I need to practice doing this, Sean, where I'm close to the microphone and talking.
Bingo.
Scott tells me all the time. It's just hard in the moment because you don't know, but we have other signals and stuff. So there's a lot going on.
I get to touch my wife,
but
so it's
if
great.
this sounds good to you and I'm
sounds
looking
amazing.
at the camera, you're completely correct, Sean.
While you're talking, look at your volume. Look at your VU meter over here on the right.
I can't do that and look at the camera.
No, you can keep your mouth there, but look at the VU meter.
Well, sure, but then I can't see where my face is.
You can hear where your face is.
I know. Is there any way to put this here? Because that would solve the problem.
Let's try it. And of course, as you guys can hear, this is frustrating for A because she's working her ass off, and this is a whole different. This is like a whole different skill set for people in radio. Try and be able to figure this out.
Yeah.
Now, most people in radio, there's a whole separate person ducking levels,
and
managing
watching
things,
all
adjusting
of this.
things.
Yeah.
Also,
so let's try this now.
Wait, let me say. Also in radio, it's people who are good 10 feet apart with sound treatment. So a sound guy can be like, hey, okay, great. I'll set this for A's quiet, Scott's loud, and they set it. The problem we have is our mics are literally a foot apart because of the environment we have. So this is surprisingly a very difficult problem to solve. Okay, go ahead.
It's definitely this, but it's also we have other things going on under here that you can't see, like timing wise. I have a watch on and so there's a lot of distractions, but this I can totally stay right here and talk loud, and I'm doing just fine.
Yeah, that looks perfect.
If I can see both of those things,
but then as soon
I
as you
couldn't
leaned
see
in,
it.
see it peaks into the red. As soon as you lean into the yellow to the red.
Well, but it's been doing that every time I open my mouth. It
Now
goes into
is.
the
So
orange
now,
and red.
So now what we do, keep in mind here, what we do is, you guys are getting a total sound check. If I drop you down a little bit, and I'll adjust this in the other gear, but now you're down there. Now watch when you get louder where it goes.
I'm happy to do that. I see all that. What I'm sort of saying is if I'm supposed to physically keep my face right here, I need to be able to see this because I am not yet talented enough not to look away.
See, and I can't hear what you hear, which is like,
yeah.
He's getting frustrated. I'm interrupting.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Oh,
I'm not. I'm frustrated about that I can't get it right. Not that you're interrupting.
So
go on.
This is fun shit we're just sharing with you guys. What I've been coaching A on while we've been doing this show is... Yeah,
Brian Lynch, how
Brian,
dare.
I'm not going to stop fucking touching my wife. It's never going to happen. So I've been doing this for 20 years, right? Plus, I did radio in college. I've been studying this for, I would say now we're talking about 30 years. So this is natural to me. So there is a pivot point at the center of, imagine the center of your microphone, there's a little a stem that comes out and does like this. And that stem needs to be straight down your gullet.
Yeah, but I have the carotid, all of that too.
I
from
know
radio.
you do. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Radio is not the thing. It's
video. Radio is the thing. So what I now is so instinctive it's hard to communicate because of my connection with the earphones, the microphone, and my experience is if I come over here, I know I need to project a little bit more. As I come over here, I got this. If I come in here, I automatically dial back. But it sounds basically the same to everyone, no matter where I am around the mic, because there is a half sphere around here where I know to keep everything pointed towards this microphone as I come around like this and do like this. So I need to look at A, I'm over here. If I need to look at you, I'm over here. If I need to look at this mic, I'm over here.
And did you do that in radio because you were interviewing somebody who is also on a mic?
Can look at the volume level and say the same thing.
When you did this in radio, was it because you were looking at somebody and you had to stay right here on the mic the whole time?
It's a long-term, germline's the wrong word. It's a long-term muscle memory thing where you start to be able to detect audio levels in your ears, and you don't need to look at a VU meter to be able to be like, I automatically have increased my decibels by 3 to 5 decibels here because I'm over here across the microphone, but instead of pointing at the microphone, then I come over here. It's basically the same shit, right? So the answer is yes, but also...
Except I would not veer from here unless I had to look at something. So what I'm asking you is if I can stay right here and be vocally present and equal without having to look at anything, which is what I did all through college to earn my way through college.
Yep.
What is the thing that I have to do where if I turn to look at the camera, now I'm spiking? Because if I did it right here, it was fine the whole time.
I will answer your question. Number one, we're talking shop now. So if you guys want to hang out and watch us talk shop, great. There's no more content. We're just hanging out with y'all right now and sharpening the saw. So if you look at where I'm at, right? The answer to your question is, if you look where I'm at, there is a 2.5 to 3 inch space between me and the microphone, right? But let's call it a stick. Let's call it a stick. There's a stick between my mouth and the microphone.
Sure.
If I come over here, I make sure that stick is still pointed directly towards the diaphragm. But when I'm not coming straight down the cannon, I got to boost it up just a little bit over here. And I can tell that because of my ears. So as I come over here, I'm dropping it down a little bit, but it sounds the same. Look at my VU meter. I won't even look at it.
I mean, I totally meet you, but I'm talking right down the cannon and I keep spiking it just by saying totally, and it goes into the
First
whatever.
of all, that's not a spike. Yellow's not a spike. Red's the only spike we're worried about. But what we're doing, see where it is for me. If I look at you, I don't have to look at it. Go ahead and look at it. Look at the VU meter. It's basically exactly the same.
And if I'm right here by you, I'm way louder, being way closer. And if I lean a little bit like this, I am still way louder than you are.
Do you hear the echo difference, though?
I do.
The
what
distance?
I'm saying is I'm not sure that both of our mics are set up for voices.
We have a lot of problems setting up our mics for voices because A is naturally quieter. So if I increase A's volume to a certain level, I have so much bleed because I'm so much louder. This is the problem with our mics not even being a foot apart. Also, not having a producer, a third party who's not talking is a huge problem because when I talk, I, of course, have my own volume in my head. When A talks, she has her own volume in her head. In radio, you've got a person to be like, you don't hear anything. A talks, doesn't have to say anything. The guy or girl just slides a slider up, slides a slider down, turns the compression up, turns the compression down. So that's a challenge we have.
Because we both have I don't know what it's called, recorded voice experience, but yours is all self-produced and
Correct.
Most of mine is not.
Correct.
And so what I have to do is be in front of this mic. And if I want to get up close and personal with you, I can get quieter on this mic. And somebody who's not in this room will be doing that. But Scott has always had to do that for himself. So he does not do that as much. He does not say, hey, you guys, you want to know what's happening. He doesn't do that.
Right.
He does this. Hey, you guys, you want to know what's happening?
That's correct.
And all of that is louder. All of that is loud.
So the distance is, see now, she did a great job right there. That's instinct starting to kick in. She's got super loud and she automatically backed up. So if you're going to get loud, you got to back the fuck up, but it's basically the same place in the view meter. But if I want to whisper, then I'm going to get right up on this motherfucker. So I set my natural volume about 2.5 to 3.5 inches away. This is my normal talking voice, right? But if I want to get quiet, if I want to whisper, hold on, I want to tell you guys some shit. I am instinctively dropping my volume, but the output volume remains the same. A, who worked her way through college with this amazing fucking voice, got to sit in front of a mic and have a dude or girl working that whole deck.
But I could still
pretty good.
do this.
Yes, you can.
But I couldn't do it like Scott can because somebody else was always watching. Now, before, if Stephen Bloomfield, if you're still here, would it help with a headset mic? It absolutely would. That would be good.
That's a good point.
The problem is a headset mic. A headset that has a mic.
That's not a bad idea.
It isn't a bad idea, but there's less dynamics with a tinier mic. You can understand that, right?
You know what?
There's a less dynamic with a tinier mic. And you've seen Britney Spears and all the people on SNL with the little lavalier mics that are here, but those don't have as much depth and they are all surround sound mics. So
well, I mean,
so it's true.
But think
we're
about this.
2 feet apart or
when you
less.
watch sportscasters in basketball arenas, football stadiums, or the guys up in the booth, there's different size of mics, but I have been constantly surprised. I'm like, here's this little comma semicolon of a microphone, and these people sound amazing. On the one hand, the gear their mic is going into is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars and is astonishingly amazing gear. But the microphone itself is small but very good. We've been looking at some Sennheiser mics. I think we might need to revisit this because if A has a headset mic, on the one hand we're like, well, that looks kind of silly, doesn't it? We're fucking on headset mics. But at the same time, it's a fixed position on the microphone. There's very little feedback because it's aimed right in front of your mouth. I do think, honestly, I think that we should spend some money and get you a fucking headset mic because I think that will solve all the problems.
Well, you turned off my headphones, so I can't hear you.
I did not.
Yeah.
You don't hear yourself? No, this is you, Pumpkin. You're just not close to the mic.
You're right. You've turned down my mic is what it is.
I did not.
So you can do that, but my lavalier mic that is placed right by my face will pick up all of you. So let's try that if you...
That's not true. That's what when you watch the sports shows, they're this close apart. And again, the back end gear they have is astronomically more expensive than what we have. Plus, they have a person sitting in a chair, adjusting and ducking and doing all this other shit. But I do think we should probably. I think that is a very helpful comment from the chat room.
We can buy a lab mic and try it.
Not a headset mic.
Well, either way, the tiny mic
right in front of your pretty mouth.
The tiny mic. Let's try it.
Chris Grawl says a lapel mic. Hey, Phil T. Nolasco, welcome. Chris says a lapel mic, maybe. Maybe.
They're all the same thing. They're a tiny mic, so we can try it. The tiny mics that I've seen are vaguely directional. So will they be better than this one? Maybe, because this is kind of a directional, but it's this big. So if I do this, you hear a little bit differently.
Yeah,
and if
plastic.
I do this, you don't.
Watch. This is crazy. Now, this is part of the problem we're having. When A does that close up to the mic with their hands, don't do it. Don't do it. With their hands cupped. It still sounds relatively distant and tinny to me in these earphones. But I'm looking at the VU meter and she is peaking in the red, which means it must be super fucking loud for you guys. So this is part of the problem we're trying to solve is like what I hear her doing and what comes across in the broadcast are not the same thing.
Yeah, and part of this problem is when we have people who are having a lav mic or a face mic close to other people who also have a lav mic or a face mic, which is a lav mic taped to their face. They are more than 2 feet apart.
Oh, the without a doubt, the biggest problem we are solving that we're probably the only vidcast you're going to watch where the mics are this far apart. Usually people are on other sides of the table. When they pan back, they're sitting on opposite side of the table. They're quartered on the table. There is no shot where they are close together that looks as pretty as we look right now, because this is the environment that we have to work with, hence our challenges. So we are with some very unique challenges. We've actually looked into putting a divider up between us to help me control this, or just to move A downstairs to her table desk area.
And 5 years ago, we started with headset mics, but we were too close together. So my mic facing this way.
We didn't do headset mics.
We have done, and we've done it years before us, using the same equipment we had when we started.
So crazy. So I'm flipping out because
Yeah, me too. I think I'm turned down low.
See, now do this, but look at your VU meter.
Well, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but I can't hear myself. I can hear myself. You can't hear yourself. Yeah, I've told you that
That's
twice
because
now.
We had your volume up.
Yeah.
Then I turned your volume down because we're experimenting. Because when your volume was up, you were talking like this, and it was very quiet. But in the VU meter, it was all down. It was down there, so it's difficult for somebody to work with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. But now I can't hear. I can hear you, and now I can hear me in my own head.
No, just keep talking, and I'm going to watch your VU meter and see how this changes your behavior based on what you're hearing in your ears.
So part of the problem is I can look here, and if that is right below what I am looking at, which I asked for, I can kind of manage that and only let it go yellow. And I can also kind of do this and then look at you and listen. And no, you look at the thing. You look at the thing. Am I going high? Am I going lower? Or am I just fine?
Well, now you're being pretty consistent, except you're right here. And you're not here. You keep doing this, and it changes everything. So when you're here, I can control it.
Right. And part of what I'm saying is this is the first time ever it's been right under the video that I look at myself. So I can look at this and say, okay, I understand it. I understand it. I understand it. I'm going to stay right here and talk to you. Sometimes if it's vaguely over there, what I do is, okay, so do you need a thing? What can I do for you here? I don't know what to do for you because I'm kind of looking at it there. But if I can see myself and see the thing, I can keep it green or yellow, green or yellow, green or yellow the whole time.
The difference is when you need to lean back here and look at me, that's the mic behavior that mic management needs to change. You never do this. What you do is this. Okay, so I have to look at you now, but see where my mouth is? It's still right there. I can hear in my ears. This is still ballpark. It's pretty much the same. If I lean back here and talk, it changes dramatically. If I come back here and talk, it's this level here. So that's part of mic management that we're still working on due to the constraints of our tiny little room.
So maybe one of the things we need to do is if there are 2 cameras, we need to agree that the mic management is under the visible camera, wherever the, whatever. Because if we switch back to the pretty mic, you're not going to look at it right here. You're going to look at it somewhere over there.
Hold on, let me fix that for you. That's good. That's a very good point. Also, a couple good points in the chat room. Appreciate this feedback, you guys. Very interesting. So here we go. The pretty cam. So now in the pretty cam, when I'm looking at your cam, I'm right here. The pretty cam, I'm back a little bit because I can sort of hear it. Now, look at your pretty cam. Look at your pretty cam, go ahead and talk.
No, you do it because you're doing the same thing that I do all the time. When you're looking at your camera, but you can't see this over here, you're kind of talking back here, which is kind of introducing an echo. You're doing the same thing I do all the time, but I do it because you're leaning on the microphone because you can see all your business right now.
Great.
But I think if you say the quick brown fox jumped over the, or whatever, you repeat your favorite song lyrics here, but you don't look at this camera, you'll do the same thing I'm doing.
Let me ask you to do something here. So pay attention to the pretty cam. It's called the pretty cam because it focuses on me. That's the way it goes. So when you were out right up here, can you please look at the pretty cam?
The camera or the...
Please look at this camera.
Yeah.
When you were right here, there's a richness and a depth to your voice that is not there when you come back to here. Can you experiment with that for me for just a second? Come up here and say hello to the fans.
Of course.
And then come back here and do your louder. But
of course. I was trying to tell you why I do this. So I can be right here and do this all the time, and that's no problem. Or I can come back here and it sounds echoey and tinny, just like yours did when if the pretty cam is here, but the watching this is here on this screen, you did the same thing. You can look at the chat. Yeah, you guys, he's, you know.
See, now, like Phil says, he's always good when you hear the voices in your head. That's true. So if I'm here, I'm looking at you.
Where's the mouse?
Right here. But first of all, here, we're on the A cam. I'm looking at you. I'm positioning myself in a place within 3 inches of the microphone with a pivot around the microphone so I hear the same shit all the time. And if I have to come back, I'm going to project a lot louder, but that's a special effect. Pulling back is a special effect so I can boom out knowing they're more 10, and then I come right back in and talk to you right there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Okay.
So what I'm sort of saying is part of the way I can do this is to learn to watch my own voice with my face and this, which is, I believe, how you learned to do it too. And when I can do that, I don't think I am going to back too far away from the mic. I think if I want, I can still just stay here and be loud enough.
How does that sound to you in your own ears, though?
Well, it sounds better than it does for you because, like, when you're worried about it, because I can see that I'm backing away and need to get louder.
So this is A and I will watch TV. Again, we're just shooting. This is shop talk. A and I will watch TV. I have a problem. You don't like the harsh mid range, right? When we watch TV, we have to lower the volume because this stuff hurts your ears.
I think for you to hear the mid range, you turn it up and the high range gets
I don't hear mid range all that well. A mid range hurts A. So we have to find volumes and EQ on the TV where we can both hear what the characters are saying, but it doesn't hurt A's ears because it's too loud, and I am unable to hear it because the mids are too low. I think we're looking at a similar situation right here.
Right, that's kind of what I'm saying. I think what I need to do is kludge it in where I can learn it by watching and doing. And I can only do that if I can see the camera and the thing. I'm not saying you're wrong. No, I'm saying I can't rock it in.
The point I was making was I do all of this work with my ears, and our ears are different. You're saying you want to do this work with your eyes and your positioning. I'm curious if you're hearing something completely different than I'm hearing because of our biology of our ears. Like I know that if I'm here, I automatically need to increase my volume. If I come back here, I drop it down. I can do this whole arc right here. It's basically, I don't have to look at the viewer meter. It's all basically at the same spot, but I don't hear the same tinniness you do because I guess I have more bass in my voice and more positioning. But when you come back, it changes your sound dramatically.
Yes, and it could be that 100%. It could also be that you learned to record by watching what you're doing. Like you have always been yourself in front of the computer the whole time. Mm-hmm. Because if I close my eyes and we're focusing on my voice,
close your eyes.
And I just have to make sure that no matter how far away I get from this, I'm just not spiking anything. And I can do that. I can do all of this. I can be very close to the mic and still not spiking or too low. And then I can back up and not be too spiking or too low. When I'm back here, it sounds a little tinny because I'm kind of kludging away from here. But what I'm not doing is blowing it out.
The problem is you don't have the right gear. Flat out, the problem is A does not have gear that as a performer suits her abilities and her parentheses, if you will, as a performer. Anytime you are in a movie, there are different filters based on your face. There are different angles based on how your physiology works. Any action scene, they will adjust based on, Liam Neeson at 34 shoots an action scene. That's one set of camera angles. Liam Neeson at 56, that's another set because he's not the same guy. So right now, what we are understanding, thanks to you guys sharing with us on the show, is A does not have the proper gear to suit her extraordinarily professional voice. That is the issue we're dealing with.
Yes. And also, I might need to do reps on this mic where I see myself in the moment, because I have always worked, for all the voice work I've done, with somebody reflecting back to me, right?
Yep.
It's always been a director outside the booth, but it's always been somebody reflecting back to me, doing like this, like focus on me, just like you do.
Yep.
Just like focus on this, focus right here, do that, focus, or come back to me, right? So
Gotcha.
if my eyes are
Gotcha.
closed
Yeah.
and I don't need to do anything but voice, I can fucking do that all day long.
In the chat room, Matt Ratte, I believe it is, says, haven't been here in a while.
Oh, hey,
and no idea
Mara.
what's happening. Need to catch up my
Nice to
signals.
see you.
Matt, right now, the lovely people still hanging out in the chat room. The story's done. Extra episode's done. A and I are trying to use all of you bitches to try and get a little bit more feedback on this problem we have of having a very tiny recording area with microphones that are 12 inches apart at most, and trying to compensate for two very different vocal styles and very different levels of experience. So in the chat room, I posted, check out abcovax.com. And if you guys want to understand the difficulty I'm facing, go in and listen to A's audio samples, particularly the Harley Davidson ad.
Yeah.
The Harley Davidson ad she recorded has a more professional studio, probably a ballpark mic, except there's a person in the room adjusting all the dials to her magnificent, perfect fucking voice. That's what we're trying to figure out right now. So that's what we're doing, Matt. So you're just hanging out. But we welcome you. Hang out, man.
And Phil, you had a question about the... Scott already answered. Yeah, GFL 7 this year. Might be at the end of the year, but this year.
Chris Grawl says in the chat room, foul, the A cam should be renamed the pretty cam. That is because...
That's the joke.
That is because Chris Grawl served the United States military and saw lots of bright flashes from artillery explosions, and his eyes aren't so good.
How dare.
Clearly, we know this is the pretty cam. Come on now. This is the pretty cam. So thank you guys so much. We're going to go ahead and go hang out. And
Phil, the pups are great.
The pups are magnificent. I love them with all my fucking heart. Squeaky. Matt, thank you for tuning in. Matt, we do this live at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, but you always catch it after the fact. You guys, Brian Leach says she needs a more sensitive mic. That is correct. The problem is the distance. The more sensitive her mic is, the more I bleed into that mic. Therefore, the more difficult it is to edit after the fact as two completely separate feeds. There are a lot of challenges we face by simply not having a studio where we're able to sit on opposite sides of the table. But we're going to work on all of this. You guys are all great. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you enjoyed Deep Cuts. There's my mouse right there. You're all fucking fantastic. Phil, have a great night. Cobalt, used, abused, and put away dirty. You guys are great. We love you all. There's the Squeaks. Hold up Squeaks so we can see her.
This is Squeaky's t-shirt because it's cold.
Oh my God. She's such a pumpkin.
Ooh.
She's just a little pumpkin. She's so great.
And this is the Squeaks. She's big mad.
Matt, thank you so much. Matt in the chat room saying all of the verbal sugar that makes an author's nips hard, says, I will join more often. Love your work.
Stephen,
Love
thank
the
you
books.
so much for
Have
joining
a
us
great
today.
night.
So excited. Michael, always good to see you. I hope you and your
says,
family are doing
when
good.
you say it like that, it sounds like Scott's the problem. No, hold on. This is not wrong. A huge part of the problem is I am loud as fuck. I've always been loud as fuck. Not only am I volumetrically loud, the tonal signature of my voice carries extremely well. So we have to dial the mics in to my voice that I've tried to control for a very, very long time. but recording by myself for 20 years, it's sort of at a certain level. The problem isn't A, it's me. The problem is me. So we have to find equipment that suits A's voice that is also kind of ablative.
It's an us thing, which is my favorite thing.
It's an us thing. All right, let's switch to the pretty cam. Fuck you, Chris Gall, because this is the pretty cam. Oh, shit.
Oh, wait, here we go.
Oh, my pickle. Come here, pickle.
All for love, love for all.
Let's just let her get... Come here, Betty.
Betty Biz. Oh! She's like, listen, all you people. Come here, baby.
All right, guys. Who said make another calendar?
What?
Matt Rafe said make another calendar. Fuck all of you. Stop stealing, kidnapping my dogs and putting them in clothes. Although this is pretty cute. I won't lie. All right, you guys, you're fantastic. We're going to shut you off now and take care of what we take care of. I don't know where to go. I'm a little lost. The fuck is OBS?
Is it right there?
Wait, what? Oh, we were looking right at it. Jesus. You guys are all fantastic. Thank you. Come back next week. Rob and I are going to cook you up some delicious...
I'm so excited to hear what you guys do next week.
Delicious business. Because soon Lincoln and Billy and Dragon and, dare I say, and Magda are going to have to go out and get some business taken care of.